Keep your knees bent. And a good place to start, in a previous video I shared the Soma scan, is something I want you to explore with is a proper foundation to set yourself up for this movement is I want you to focus on what happens to your low back if you walk your heels in really close to your bottom. It'll flatten your low back out, and it'll also tuck your pelvis. So you're not in neutral. So come out of that, take your heels further away, and notice how that starts to arch the back, okay? So again, you're not in neutral. So what I'm getting at is you want to find that place in between where you're not starting out with a flatten and you're not starting out with an arch, right? You're just in your neutral spine. Okay, now let's also make sure our feet are in line with one another. If we have tightness in our body or we're in a trauma reflex, we might have the feet a little off kilter from one another. So you might end up having 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. So it might kind of hinder this movement or have you moving in a way because, or in a poor way of moving because you don't have good alignment to start out with in the feet. So pick your feet up off the table, snuggle your ankle bones in against one another so your feet are aligned, you can see them. Then just lower them down together. Walk your feet apart easily, and boom, they're in line. So find your spine in neutral, your pelvis is settled, and the first thing you're going to start noticing is your breath. Okay, so hands on your belly. Encourage the air that you draw in from the atmosphere to come down to the belly on the inhale to lift the hands up, and as you exhale to let the air go out, and there'll be a gentle contraction. So something I want you to notice before we go into making this arch in our back is noticing that the back subtly goes there just with the inhalation. So focus on your breath. Take a breath in and allow the belly to fill up with air that causes your hands to rise up. Soften the shoulders. Let the air go out. Inhale, belly swells. Exhale, the belly deflates. Now notice on your next inhalation the response of your low back muscles. Can you feel a slight contraction? It's mild, but can you sense it? So as you inhale, your belly swells up. Notice the low back. Exhale. Release. So what I need you to pay attention to is when you're taking this expansive breath in, can you feel a subtle arch in your low back without even moving? Can you feel it wanting to respond? So maybe you feel the skin expanding a little bit, the clothing on your back like moving a little bit. Just notice. And then from that awareness, we're going to grow into a subtle arch. In addition to gently pressing your tailbone down into the surface as if it's pressing down and moving towards your heels, okay? I'm going to move this arm so you can see this. So as I take a breath in, my belly is going to expand. I'm going to start feeling my low back muscles contract, and I'm going to gently press my tailbone down. And then it lifts my low back up off the ground, and it contracts my low back muscles. And then I'm going to release out into relaxation. And then I'll just let all that go, make sure whatever was turning on back here has turned off. So let's try that again. So inhale, belly expands, press down with the tailbone. The low back arches, the tailbone presses down. The low back muscles are contracting, but the belly is relaxing. Ideally, it should be relaxing, but is it? So that you become aware of the more you practice this. So inhale, we want on the inhale the belly to soften. Let it be jelly belly. Let your low back do the job of contracting. And then as you exhale, it all relaxes out. The belly softens, the low back muscles soften. So you're arching and releasing. Arching, belly softens, low back contracts. Release out. Now if you have got yourself in this tight vice of where back muscles are tight all the time and your belly muscles are tight all the time, this might be, even though it seems like a simple movement, it might not be a simple movement. It might be challenging, okay? So start off really slow. I was making that a little bit of an exaggerated movement so you can see, okay? Now, start out subtle. Always begin with awareness. What exists now? Notice when you go into your arch, the idea is your back muscles are contracting, maybe slightly tighter than they already are. And then you're releasing out. So what you're doing is you're waking the brain up to go, hello, tight back muscles, time to turn off. So it's through that repetition, that slow, conscious movement that you start to regain control of tight back muscles that aren't turning off. This can be a game changer for you, okay? So if you've got tight back and if you live with a tight back, this is a really great movement to retrain those muscles to turn off when they're no longer needed. Okay, so explore this. And you really, it's not about repetition. Let me say that another way. It's not about how many you do. So watch that you don't make it an exercise. This is, it's a re-education. So you're re-educating the communication between the brain and the muscles. The brain is the commander of these muscles. They're turned on. The brain needs to tell them to turn off. You're not going to be able to do it any other way, okay? So you need to regain that control from your command center up here to get these guys to turn off, okay? About quality, not quantity. So when you're first starting this out, go really subtle and slow. Really subtle and slow. Maybe you do one and you just take a rest breath before you even think about going into another one. Maybe you do 3, maybe you do 5, boom, done. And then notice after how your back feels, right? You want to come back to a place of stillness and notice, If my back was really arched before, what's presenting now? Okay, so that's the arch and release. Now we're going to go into the flatten and the release. So flattening is taking that arch out. And the idea here is now we're tightening the abdominal muscles, we're tightening the belly muscles, and we're asking the low back muscles to relax. But are they going to relax? Okay, so set your foundation up again. Come back to the breath. Hands on the belly. Just a breath. Forget all about the arch right now. We're just doing the flattening. So take a breath in to get ready. And exhale. Sink the back down. Notice how the pelvis responds. It's like it tucks. And your tailbone comes between your legs. It's like your pubic bone is moving toward your face. And then you notice when you sink the belly down, your belly muscles go tight, okay? And then you're going to release out. So let's try that again. Breath in, we're not moving, just a rest breath in. Exhale, sink the low back down. Just enough to turn on the abdominal muscles. Pelvis tucks. Notice what's tight. Slowly release out of the tightness. Don't be in a hurry. Let it be a slow, controlled release. It might not be a slow, controlled release. If you're not fully in control of your muscles, you might just kind of flump right out of it, okay? So just notice that. Take another breath in to get ready. Exhale, sink the belly, sink the low back down. Notice the shoulders, they might even want to slump up. That's okay, go for it, let them go. And melt on out. And then just notice both sides, okay? And again, just the same with the arch. You're only doing maybe 3, maybe 5, but do them individually, especially when you're first starting out with this. Go really slow. Be really aware of what you're doing. The more slower you go, the more delicious this becomes. So think of the motion slowly and take as many breaths as you need to. So you don't need to just inhale and exhale out of it. You can go into it really, really slow, maybe a couple breaths, maybe a couple breaths to come out, okay? And then after a long period of time of practicing, then you can start blending them right into one another. So let's explore that. We'll come back into the arch. Inhale, belly expands. Tailbone presses down. Feel the low back. Let the chin, invite it down towards the collarbones. Just invite it, don't force it there. And then as you exhale, sink down. The belly sinks down. The ribs move down. The low back sinks down. Let the head go the other way. The chin tilts up. Maybe the shoulders want to come forward. Let it all happen. And then slowly release out. So it's just like a slow ripple, a slow wave. And just meditate on the flow of your breath, but be very aware of what you are doing. And then once you've done a few arch and release, If you flatten and release, always come back to extending the legs and noticing how you feel.